Hickok 45 here. Yes, welcome to the Hickok 45 Talks channel. Glad you came by. Got a rainy day. Is in the mood to talk to you. I might talk to you about 2 or 3 different things here today. Who knows? Right here on my front porch. Welcome to the front porch and to the 45 Talks channel. Okay, someone asked me about try to keep these a little brief or more brief, less long, and all those sorts of things, but probably won't. Someone asked me what I carried during my police days. Well, many of you may not know that I was not a real cop. That's why I think I probably titled this my fake cop days or something. It wasn't really fake, I guess. That's a little clickbait maybe. I was a reserve deputy. I was a volunteer, okay, through the 90s, mainly that decade of the 90s. Remember that one? Some of you? And I was just a volunteer in my county. To be honest, I volunteered at the time. There were no real carry permits in like 89, 90, and I knew some fellows here who were helping with the sheriff's department. They had the same card and privileges to carry a pistol or a sidearm or whatever as any deputy did in the state, any sheriff or deputy, whatever. Whoa, that's cool. I wouldn't mind maybe helping out a little bit. It's hard to imagine now because carry permits are everywhere and constitutional carry, but that was a big, big deal. So some of it was selfish, but then I told the sheriff I wouldn't mind helping out some. But if he thought I'd be of any help. Anyway, so I was a reserve, a volunteer, and I didn't work as much as I should have. I'd go over and help on the weekend usually. I was working, teaching. John was traveling around. We were following him, playing basketball and everything. But I would try to work like one day on a weekend, a night, Saturday night, or ride with somebody. So you need to be riding with obviously a sworn deputy, a real cop. But you're armed and you're there, and you're in there, you're in it, But so it was pretty interesting. I carried what the question was, what did you carry? Pretty much that entire decade, my sidearm was my Glock 23. That was my Glock 23 era, and I shot that thing so much in matches and everything else, and it was great pistol. It was a I don't know, second, third generation Glock 23, and loved it. Carried that. We as reserve deputies, for the most part, during that decade, would dress in plain clothes. And I think there were some who did have a uniform and used a uniform if they were transporting prisoners sometimes or whatever. But I just wore like what I have on and a vest. I had the Banana Republic vest. I lived in that during that decade, and I just wore that and had the Glock 23 inside the waistband, actually, waistband holster. And it was I wore it concealed. It was kind of a strange thing. I always did just obviously regard myself as a helper and assistant and everything. We'd show up, at the scene or calls, and of course the uniform deputy was in full uniform. And I don't know if a lot of people knew who we were tagging along. We reserves. County had quite a few reserves at that time. And I was pretty accomplished at retrieving my handgun in a hurry from concealment. I had practiced that an immense amount of time, and competed that way, from behind the shirt or the vest and everything, and so it wasn't like I was at a big disadvantage at all. And I felt like it was a little bit of an advantage. All the deputies didn't do that, or reserves. In fact, very few probably. But I don't know. I felt like since I wasn't a sworn deputy, I didn't have as much training as they did. We had to go through in-service, uh, 40 hours a year and that kind of thing. But I, I was a little apprehensive about it. I was fine with whatever we were doing. People not knowing I was armed, really. Maybe they saw I was a guy, a tag-along citizen that wasn't armed, and maybe that wasn't the best situation. But yeah, that was fine. They didn't expect any trouble from me, whatever. That might be better. Okay, I don't have a gun to obviously that I am wearing. They could try to snatch you or whatever. But then in the, some extreme case, I could produce it very quickly if needed. And so anyway, I was comfortable with that setup. I was glad it's a rural, very rural county, and probably did things a lot of counties wouldn't have, even at that time in Tennessee or anywhere, in the 90s. But that's kind of the way it was. And so anyway, I carried the Glock 23 inside the waistband holster. I carried a Colt Mustang 380, right? Yeah, 380 as backup, and another pocket generally in that vest. And I don't know. I think I had another backup for part of the time, maybe, but that was the one I remember when I carried a backup. I might have. At that time, we didn't have like the Glock 42 and some of those as many choices as we do today. Might have even I think I might have even carried a 642. Yeah, the 642 is backup. Maybe actually even most of the time after 95 or something, don't know. And then I would take a shotgun a lot of times riding on Saturday night. And if it was kind of planned, I was going to be spending 6 or 8 hours or a whole shift with somebody, Saturday night or Friday night, something like that. If I was just going to go help somebody deliver prison, we were doing something just for a couple hours, they needed help. I wouldn't necessarily grab a shotgun, but if it was going to be, a full shift or something at night, especially in a weekend, I would take a shotgun and would have 2 shotguns. But I would take my first 590. It was the one I carried at first. I don't know, first couple of years. It was a wood furniture, Mossberg 590A1, bayonet lug and everything. Okay, so it wasn't one of the retro models with the wooden furniture. It was one of the original models with the wood furniture. That was my first 590. And then I let the deputy I was riding with, I guess it was, talk me out of that and buy it from me at one point. And he really liked it and wanted one, and I had other shotguns. I sold it to him. And then I would take my Benelli Super 90, 12 gauge semi-automatic Benelli, when I'd carry a shotgun. And I remember carrying that. We were on chain gang duty. I was helping with chain gang duty. Prisoners, that's where they come out and pick up trash, that kind of thing. And we would be expected to have a shotgun. And you were supposed to shoot somebody if they tried to escape. I don't know that I would have done that. I might have sprinkled their legs or something. I don't know if I'd have done that, even though I was supposed to. Mostly the guys out on the chain gang were not hardened murderers and that sort of thing. But anyway, I carried the shotgun. Those are the 2 shotguns. I think the only 2 I remember having, with basically we just had them with us. I didn't really break them out much, time or 2, and it was pretty. I don't have a lot of dramatic stories to tell, really. Just a couple of iffy moments, maybe 5 or 6, kind of iffy, where you're stopping a van, an old dirty van, late at night, midnight or 2 in the morning. Or something, and that's always a little, walking up to that's a little strange, sometimes gets the pucker factor up, right? And we had one where a guy was threatening to kill the first cop that showed up, and it was a domestic thing, and we had issues with that, but I was never in a shooting, so I don't have any dramatic war stories, to tell. And finally, I wasn't working as much or helping as much, and got to feeling guilty about that. And I just gave up my card and quit doing it. And I think they've suspended that program, since then. But it was interesting. It was interesting, no doubt about it. So that's what I carried, and that's all I got to say about that. Yeah, life is good.